Lollipop Chainsaw is a comedy horror action hack-and-slash video game developed by Grasshopper Manufacture for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 video game consoles. It features Juliet Starling, a cheerleader zombie hunter fighting zombies in a fictional California high school. A collaboration between game designer Suda 51 and filmmaker James Gunn, the game was published by Kadokawa Games and Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and was released on June 12, 2012 in North America, June 14, 2012 in Japan and June 15, 2012 in Europe. Gameplay: Lollipop Chainsaw is a hack-and-slash video game in which players play as Juliet as she fights through hordes of zombies. Juliet can use melee attack, dodges and high and low attacks with her chainsaw. Zombies can be beaten into a groggy state, during which they can instantly be killed with a chainsaw attack. Gold medals can be earned by defeating zombies, smashing objects and rescuing classmates. These medals can be spent at shop-to-shop zombie stores found throughout each level where Juliet can purchase new moves and combos, as well as items that can increase her stats. Sparkle hunting is achieved when Juliet kills 3 or more zombies simultaneously or in quick succession and rewards platinum medals that can be spent on other goodies such as unlockable costumes, music and artwork. As the game progresses, Juliet will also receive the Chainsaw Dash, which allows her to charge with her chainsaw and fly off ramps, and the Chainsaw Blaster, a long-range weapon used for blasting enemies and obstacles. Throughout the game, Juliet can also collect lollipops which allow her to recover health. The maximum number of lollipops Juliet can hold depends on the difficulty setting. Juliet will die if she loses all her health or fails certain scenarios, though in the case of the former, Juliet may be able to come back to life by successfully winning a roulette spin. Throughout her journey, Juliet is accompanied by her boyfriend, Nick, who is a disembodied head hanging from her waist. At certain points in the game, Nick's head can be attached to a decapitated zombie's body, during which the player will rhythmically press buttons in order to have him move about and clear the way for Juliet. By obtaining Nick tickets, Juliet can activate the Nick Roulette in which various moves can be performed using Nick's head, such as a bombarding attack or making masses of zombies groggy. By filling up her star meter by defeating zombies, Juliet can activate a special state which powers up her chainsaw for a limited period, allowing her to easily defeat zombies and obtain sparkle hunting more easily. Plot: on Juliet Starling's 18th birthday, she goes to San Ramiro High School Park to meet her boyfriend, Nick Carlisle, who is going to meet her family for the first time. Unfortunately, a zombie outbreak has occurred, which leads to Juliet fighting off hordes of undead on her way to meet Nick. When she arrives, she discovers Nick fighting off a zombie which was trying to eat her, and so Nick is bitten in her place. Realizing he will become a zombie, Juliet decides she must decapitate him to save him. When he comes to, Nick discovers he is somehow still alive, despite being a severed head, and so Juliet reveals to him that she is a zombie hunter, and that she performed a magical ritual on him which keeps his soul from being turned into a zombie and retaining his humanity, thus explaining his continued existence as a severed head. Juliet attaches Nick's head to her belt, and she fights hordes of zombies on her way to meet her tutor, Morikawa. Once they are united, Morikawa explains the situation, and explains that the universe is divided into 3 realms: Earth, the land beyond words, and the Rotten World, an infernal realm where demons and zombies reside. Morikawa tells Juliet and Nick that somebody has cracked open a portal between Earth and the Rotten World by a combination of black magic and explosives, and Morikawa sets out to find the culprit. Juliet reunites again with Morikawa after fighting zombies intent on blowing her to oblivion, and finds the person responsible for the outbreak, an evil goth named Swan, but she cannot prevent him from summoning 5 demons to the world, which take the form of zombies centered around themes of rock and roll. Morikawa attempts to stop Swan from unleashing the demons, but he is mortally wounded. Swan sends the first zombie overlord, Zed, after her, but she kills him in a fight and sends him back to the Rotten World. Morikawa tells her to purify the school and kill the 4 remaining zombie overlords before dying. Juliet hunts down the overlords, while receiving advice from her sisters Cordelia Starling, the elder one, and Rosalind Starling, the younger sister. Juliet continues exploring the school and fighting zombies, and encounters Vic, the second zombie overlord summoned by Swan, whom she duels and boards his airborne longship and sends him back to Rotten World. The longship crashes into the O'Bannon farm. Juliet is attacked mentally by nightmares projected from Mariska, the zombie queen of psychedelia, but Juliet eventually shakes off the nightmares and faces Mariska herself, defeating her and sending her back to Rotten World. Juliet's father, Gideon, arrives and takes her back to the city, where Juliet, Nick and Gideon infiltrate the Fulci Fun Center upon realizing it is full of gamer zombies. Josie, the zombie overlord in charge of the center, summons Juliet to his lair atop the building, and in a duel, Juliet also defeats him. Finally, with one zombie overlord left, Juliet's family all team up to infiltrate an unfinished cathedral in the heart of the city, where the final overlord, Louis Legend, lurks. Upon accessing his lair, Swan taunts Juliet about Louis being more than a match for her. Ultimately, though, the situation is reversed. Just like all the other overlords upon their deaths, Louis utters a Latin chant. Swan appears and applauds Juliet for her work and reveals the cruel fact that she was a pawn in his game, and he allowed all the zombie overlords to die so the true zombie lord could be returned to this world. Swan also tells Juliet that it was she, and all the other students at the school, that made him into a monster through torture and bullying. Essentially, the zombie outbreak was his act of vengeance against the school's students, and society in general for making him an outcast. Juliet tries to reason with him, but Swan, indifferent towards any attempt to get him to see the error of his ways, shoots his head off to finish the ritual and is absorbed along with the rest of the undead into a black vortex, which solidifies into the zombie of all zombies, Killer Billy, whom Juliet is forced to fight. Juliet battles Killer Billy and is contacted by the ghost of Morikawa, who gives her advice along with Nick. Halfway through the fight, Juliet's father, Gideon, drives his motorcycle packed with explosives into the maw of Killer Billy, and is seemingly destroyed. Juliet mourns her father, but Nick and Morikawa encourage her to enter the mouth of Killer Billy before he regenerates. Juliet complies and lands in the demon's stomach, where, in his heart, she encounters Swan's headless corpse. She learns she must put Nick's head on top of Swan's body to make Killer Billy explode into nothing, and tearfully does so after expressing her love for Nick. Nick tells her he loves her, and sacrifices himself for humanity. Killer Billy explodes, and in a near-death experience Nick learns from Morikawa's ghost that it has been decided Nick's honor grants him new life, with a new body, but there will be a mix-up on the resurrection. Nick learns this means he gets Morikawa's body, which is far shorter than his previous one, but neither he nor Juliet really care. Eventually, it is revealed Gideon, Juliet's father, did survive the explosion, and together the Starling family make their way home in return for Juliet's birthday, which can be a positive or negative experience depending on how the game has been played. Should the player save all available people during the course of the game, Juliet's birthday will go swimmingly and Nick will present his present of a box of luxury lollipops to Juliet. If the player allows one or more people to die, however, Juliet's mother will act strangely and turn around to reveal she has been zombified. Development. Before its announcement in July 2011, Lollipop Chain Sō was first mentioned as an unnamed game featuring stylish action in an October 2010 article on oneup.com detailing Kadokawa Show 10's partnership with Grasshopper and Prope. Suda described it as featuring really extreme twists, and being very funny. He declared that he thinks the game will be a really big title in the worldwide market. Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment will publish the game outside of Japan, and filmmaker James Gunn had a hand in developing the game's story and characters. Gunn has said that many of the people he works with in his films and other projects are also working on Lollipop Chain Sō. For the characters, the illustrator Nekasuo Goen designed the characters for Lollipop Chain Sō and the chainsaw that Juliet Starling uses. On February 1, 2012, it was announced that Jimmy Urine from the electro-punk band Mindless Self-Indulgence would compose the music for the boss segments. He will also provide the voice for Zed, a punk rock-themed boss. On March 6, 2012, it was announced that one of the DLC available for the game will consist of different costumes for Juliet based on 5 different characters from 4 anime series: Rei Miyamoto and Saiko Bijujima from High School of the Dead, Shiro from Dead Man Wonderland, Manya Shifusa from Manya Hikken Ka, and Haruna from Is This a Zombie? These costumes can also be bought in the in-game shop. A special Lollipop Chain Sō Valentine Edition was released for Valentine's Day on February 14, 2013 in Japan. The re-release features additional content, including a perfect unlock code, limited edition sleeve, and 2 bonus DVDs. The Happy Valentine disc has PC items such as a desktop clock, wallpapers and a library of trailers. The premium movie disc contains in-game movies and a Valentine's Day comic. Reception: in Japan, the game received generally positive reviews upon release. Famitsu gave the game scores of 9 out of 10 from 4 reviewers, adding up to a total aggregate score of 36 out of 40. Denki PlayStation Magazine had 4 reviewers giving the game scores of 75, 90, 90, and 80, averaging out to 83.75 out of 100. In the Western world, the game received generally mixed to positive reviews upon release. Aggregating review websites Game Rankings and Metacritic gave the Xbox 360 version 70.49% and 70/100 and the PlayStation 3 version 67.61% and 67/100, respectively. IGN gave it a 5/10, praising the look and feel of the game, but criticized its gameplay, calling it bland, slow, and unsatisfying. Game Informer gave it a 7.5/10, stating the premise is exciting and imaginative, but the gameplay execution has too many holes to embrace completely. GameSpot gave it a 6.5/10, praising its jokes, gameplay excursions and boss battles, but criticizing its crudeness, control and camera quirks in combat. Destructoid gave it a 9/10, praising the combat, calling it intuitive, solid, and made to raise a smile. James Sterling, reviews editor for Destructoid and the reviewer for the game, named it as one of his favorite games of 2012. 1UP.com gave the game a car, commenting that the game feels just as empty and image-focused as the latest Tim Burton production. GameZone gave it a 9/10, calling it one of the most unique experiences I've ever got my hands on, and praising its combat, but criticizing the camera, commenting that it's obstructing the action when by a wall, and it would take a few seconds to recover and let me see the action again. Lollipop Chainsaw has become Grasshopper Manufacture's most successful title, selling more than 1 million units worldwide. References. External links, official website,